the human princess, led a broken army to victory. From her small observation deck, Princess Ilara watched it all in silence, the hum of the starship beneath her feet a constant reminder of how fragile life was, even in the depths of space. She had once imagined that being a princess meant comfort and safety, attending ceremonies, making speeches, and guiding her people from a palace surrounded by riches. But that life had vanished the moment the alien fleet descended on the human colonies. Ilara's world had shattered in an instant, her home lost, and the human forces broken into scattered pieces. The bridge crew moved like ghosts, their faces pale, their eyes clouded with fear. The corridors echoed with the occasional clatter of boots, but most soldiers lingered in silence, unsure if they should speak. Ilara could feel the weight of their uncertainty pressing against her, heavier than any gravity she had ever known. She knew she had to act, not as a princess with a title, but as a leader capable of inspiring courage in the hopeless. "Your Highness," Commander Tavis said, breaking the silence. His voice carried the grit of someone who had seen decades of battles, yet it trembled slightly with doubt. "The fleet, it's gone. Most of our ships are destroyed. The colonies, they are scattered. I don't see how we can recover from this." Ilara turned to face him, keeping her own fear buried deep. She was smaller than many of her soldiers, younger than many commanders, yet something inside her refused to bow to despair. "Commander," she said firmly, "we are not defeated. Not yet. Humans have survived against impossible odds before, and we will survive again. We will adapt. We will move. We will find a way." Tavis hesitated. His eyes were hard, skeptical, but he had spent long enough with humans to know that determination could make the impossible possible. "And where do we go?" he asked cautiously. "The fleet is broken, the colonies are isolated, and the aliens, they are everywhere." Ilara took a deep breath and looked out at the stars. "There is an asteroid belt not far from here," she said. "It has resources, hidden coves, places where they won't find us easily. We will regroup there, repair what we can, and plan our next move." The human spirit is cleverer than their machines, smarter than their scouts. They may have weapons, but we have ingenuity. The bridge fell quiet again. Her words did not erase the fear in their hearts, but they planted a seed of hope. Slowly, one by one, the crew nodded. Tavis gave a small, almost imperceptible smile. He knew she was right. Humans could endure when all else failed because they could think, they could innovate, and they refused to surrender. Over the next few hours, the survivors worked together to chart a course through the asteroid belt. Ships that had once fought proudly in formations now floated in a haphazard line, their engines quiet as they slipped between massive rocks. Engineers patched systems with scavenged parts. Pilots practiced maneuvers that relied on intuition and trust, not perfect designs. And through it all, Ilara moved among them, speaking words of encouragement, listening to worries and guiding plans with precision and care. She found herself standing beside a young mechanic named Lyra, who was trying to fit a replacement energy core into one of the smaller ships. Sparks flew dangerously close to her gloves, and sweat dotted her forehead. Ilara crouched beside her. "It doesn't have to be perfect," she said gently. "It just has to work. Humans are good at making imperfect things achieve great results." Lyra blinked at her, doubt still in her eyes. "But what if it fails?" "Then we adapt," Ilara replied with a small smile. "Then we try again." That is what humans do. In the quiet hours that followed, the fleet entered the asteroid belt. Massive rocks loomed on either side, their surfaces pocked with craters and dust. Some ships brushed close to the edges, using the rocks as shields. Others circled smaller asteroids, creating hidden paths that the alien scouts would have difficulty predicting. The humans were no longer a broken fleet. They were a clever, shifting shadow among the stars. Despite the strategy, the fear never fully left. Each ship knew that one mistake could mean capture or worse. Yet, in those moments of tension, something remarkable happened. Small teams began experimenting. One group modified mining drones into reconnaissance scouts, sending them to map potential dangers. Another group turned communication satellites into decoy signals, making it appear as though the humans were scattered even further than they really were. Every human, no matter their role, contributed something clever, something unexpected. Alara observed all of it with pride. She could see the spark of ingenuity in each person, the same spark that had allowed humans to survive countless disasters on their home planet and beyond. And she understood that the broken army was not truly broken. It had only forgotten its greatest strength, the human mind. One evening, after days of navigating the asteroid belt, Alara stood on the observation deck again. The stars were bright, and the asteroids glinted like distant jewels. She thought of her people scattered across the galaxy, of colonies isolated and afraid. She thought of her soldiers, tired yet determined, learning to trust each other and themselves. She realized that leadership was not about commanding the strongest army. It was about inspiring the weak to be strong, the fearful to be brave, and the doubtful to believe. "Princess," Tavis approached quietly, standing beside her. "They're listening to you. The soldiers, they are ready to follow even after all we've lost. I didn't think it was possible." Alara smiled faintly, her eyes still on the horizon. "It is possible because they are human," she said softly. "And humans, we never give up." As the fleet glided between the rocks, the alien presence still lingered somewhere beyond the asteroid belt. Scouts would return, fleets would search, and danger was far from over. But for the first time since the defeat, hope had taken root. The broken army had a leader, not just by title but by courage and wisdom. And under her guidance, the survivors were beginning to remember something fundamental. Humans could turn any setback into opportunity, any weakness into advantage, and any despair into hope. The nights in the asteroid belt were long and silent, but within that silence, a quiet transformation took place. Soldiers who had once doubted themselves now shared ideas openly, suggesting strategies and improvisations. Engineers swapped designs, pilots shared hidden routes, and medics taught ways to conserve resources. Even Tavis, the veteran commander, found himself adapting, learning from the creativity of those younger than him. One day, a small scouting party returned from the outer rim of the belt, their report carrying both relief and urgency. "No aliens found so far," the lead scout said, "but sensors indicate they are active nearby. They may be searching for us." Alara nodded. "Good. That gives us time to prepare. And if they find us, we will show them that humans cannot be predicted. Every move they make, we will have already anticipated 5 steps ahead. We are cleverer than they are. We are humans." The soldiers murmured agreement, their spirits lifted. For the first time in weeks, there was laughter among them, not careless or foolish, but the laughter of people who understood that hope was growing stronger than fear. Princess Alara knew that the coming days would be filled with challenges. The alien fleet was relentless, and the human army was still weak. Yet she also knew that the cracks in her army were not failures. They were opportunities to build something stronger, smarter, and more unified. Every mistake would become a lesson, every setback a chance to innovate. And in that truth, Alara felt something she had not felt in a long time: confidence. Not arrogance, not certainty of victory, but the deep, quiet certainty that humans, even broken, could rise. She looked out once more at the stars, imagining the future. Somewhere out there, the aliens were waiting, thinking humans were easy to defeat. They were wrong. Humans were never easy to defeat. They were clever, unpredictable, and filled with hope. And with that thought, Alara turned back to her fleet, ready to guide her people through the darkness, toward the light of a new beginning. The asteroid belt had become more than a hiding place. It had become a classroom, a testing ground for human ingenuity. Princess Alara moved among the scattered ships like a quiet conductor, orchestrating a fleet that had once been broken into something alive and adaptable. She walked past small groups of engineers, pilots, and medics who worked side by side, trading ideas, testing prototypes, and laughing quietly when something failed. Even failure had become a teacher here. Lyra, the young mechanic who had once doubted herself, was now teaching a group of new recruits how to repurpose mining drones into scanning devices. "See," Lyra said, gesturing to a drone that hovered steadily despite a missing stabilizer, "we don't need perfection. We need thinking. If we can anticipate where the aliens will look, we can always stay a step ahead." Alara watched the demonstration, a quiet pride swelling in her chest. The small successes of humans reminded her why she had always believed in her people. Humans had an innate ability to turn ordinary objects into extraordinary tools, to see possibilities where others saw limitations. The asteroid belt, with its unpredictable paths and hidden crevices, became a symbol of that creativity, a place where humans could be more than machines. Commander Tavis approached, his brow furrowed but a hint of a smile tugging at his lips. "They're learning faster than I expected," he said quietly. "I didn't think they would adapt so quickly." "They are human," Alara replied. "We learn, we change, we survive. That is what they are doing now. And the aliens, they won't see it coming." Every day, Alara gathered her officers to review the scattered intelligence the scouts had brought back. Reports varied: small alien patrols moving near human colonies, strange signals detected near empty sectors, glimpses of alien machines that humans had never encountered. The data was incomplete and sometimes contradictory, but that only sharpened human ingenuity. They had no choice but to think creatively, to anticipate what could happen rather than what was expected. One evening, as the orange light of a distant star washed over the asteroid surfaces, Alara gathered the senior officers in the largest common area of the fleet. "We have time," she said, her voice steady and calm, "but we cannot waste it. We must use this time to become unpredictable, to make the aliens think they know us, and then show them that humans cannot be understood so easily." Her words sparked a murmur of excitement. Even Tavis nodded in agreement, the old skepticism softened by the determination growing among his soldiers. "We can create diversions," he suggested. "Move signals around, make it seem like our fleet is larger or in different locations than it actually is." Alara smiled. "Exactly. And we can train every human here to think like scouts, like strategists, like problem solvers. Every person, from the youngest recruit to the most experienced pilot, will have a role in keeping our people alive." The following days were a whirlwind of activity. Humans adapted mining drones, turning them into silent scouts that could slip through asteroid tunnels and report back without detection. Communication satellites were repurposed to send false signals, creating phantom fleets to confuse the aliens. Small teams experimented with solar sails and magnetic fields, learning to navigate the belt in ways that were unpredictable, even to machines programmed for efficiency. Alara moved constantly, encouraging, questioning, and guiding. She stopped by a team of medics who were developing ways to monitor stress and fatigue among the soldiers. "If we can predict when a person is at their limit," she said, "we can prevent mistakes. Humans are resilient, but only when they are supported." The human army began to take on a life of its own, a network of minds and skills working in concert. The young, once timid soldiers began to offer ideas that surprised even the veterans. Lyra suggested modifications to the drones that allowed them to navigate tighter spaces and send signals farther than expected. Another recruit, Nico, developed a way to camouflage smaller ships against asteroid surfaces using reflective coatings, making them nearly invisible to sensors. Even the alien scouts that occasionally ventured near the belt failed to recognize the clever patterns the humans had developed. Alara watched a simulation of a patrol attempting to navigate through a narrow canyon of rocks, only to be guided away by the decoy signals and phantom routes. Humans, she whispered to herself, we are cleverer than they think. Amidst the strategies and innovations, the human soldiers began to bond in ways they had never done before. Conversations flowed freely across ranks. Pilots shared flight tricks with engineers. Medics discussed ways to conserve energy with navigators. They were no longer a broken army. They were a living, thinking organism, each part connected to the other, each mind contributing to survival. One morning, a scout returned with news that electrified the fleet. "We've detected alien movement closer than ever," the scout reported. "They are coordinating. We may be under observation." Alara nodded, her mind already racing with possibilities. "Good," she said. "That means our diversions are working. They are noticing us, which means they are reacting. And reaction means predictability in their own actions. We will watch and learn from them, just as they are trying to learn from us." For hours, Alara and her officers analyzed the alien movements. They traced the patterns of patrols, detected predictable shifts in sensor activity, and predicted areas the aliens might attempt to infiltrate. Every prediction was met with experimentation. Humans ran simulations, tested routes through asteroid tunnels, and practiced responses to potential encounters. In the evenings, when the work slowed, Alara walked among her soldiers, listening to their stories, their worries, and their small victories. She encouraged them to take pride not in victories over enemies, but in victories over fear, over doubt, and over despair. "It is not enough to survive," she told them one night. "We must grow, we must learn, and we must trust ourselves even when the universe seems against us." The bonds between humans grew stronger. Tavis, once skeptical of the princess, found himself mentoring young recruits, sharing wisdom without the rigid hierarchy he had once insisted upon. Soldiers who had once been timid now offered solutions in planning meetings, their voices confident. The fleet, once a ragged collection of damaged ships and anxious minds, had become a cohesive force, guided not by fear but by curiosity and courage. Alara herself learned more about leadership than she had ever imagined. She learned to balance hope and realism, to listen as much as she spoke, and to nurture talent wherever she found it. She celebrated the smallest successes, knowing that each innovation, each clever maneuver, and each spark of ingenuity was a step toward survival. Weeks passed. The alien patrols grew more frequent, but the humans were ready. Scouts moved silently, monitoring movements, sharing real-time data with every ship in the fleet. Signals were rerouted, phantom fleets moved, and every action seemed to anticipate the aliens' next move. Humans had become shadows and phantoms in the belt, unseen and unpredictable, yet fully aware of their surroundings. One morning, a message arrived from a distant colony, carried by an encrypted drone. The message was simple: "We have heard of your ingenuity. We want to join you." Alara read the message to her officers. The words brought smiles and quiet excitement. The human network was expanding, growing stronger with every connection. "This is exactly what we need," she said. "The more humans we unite, the more ideas, skills, and hearts we have. Together, we are unstoppable." The colony representatives soon arrived, bringing engineers, scientists, and more pilots. They integrated quickly, sharing knowledge and adding new ideas to the fleet. With each new human, the fleet became more capable, more unpredictable, and more resilient. Alara's vision was taking shape, a human army that was clever, adaptable, and alive in a way that no machine could ever match. As the days turned into weeks, the alien presence remained a shadow at the edges of human perception. They watched, probed, and attempted to predict, but every attempt was met with innovation, with tactics that no algorithm could anticipate. Humans had become a puzzle the aliens could not solve, a force guided by imagination, intuition, and unity. Late one evening, Alara stood on the observation deck, looking at the stars that had once seemed so distant and cold. The fleet moved around her, alive with activity, each ship performing its role with precision and creativity. She thought of the young recruits who had grown into capable strategists, the engineers who had turned simple tools into life-saving devices, and the soldiers who had found courage they didn't know they had. "We are not just surviving," she whispered to herself. "We are thriving. We are learning, and soon we will show the universe what humans are truly capable of." Tavis joined her, looking out at the vast asteroid field. "You were right," he said quietly. "The human spirit, it cannot be defeated, not by machines, not by fear, not by anything. We are clever, adaptable, and resilient, just like you said." Alara nodded, feeling a quiet strength she had never felt before. The fleet had grown beyond broken ships and tired soldiers. It had become a force defined not by power or weapons, but by intelligence, creativity, and trust. And in that strength, she knew, lay victory, not through destruction, but through strategy, courage, and the boundless ingenuity of humans. The stars stretched endlessly, the asteroid belt glittering with light and shadow. Somewhere beyond sight, the aliens moved, unaware of the clever web they were about to walk into. The humans had grown stronger, smarter, and more united than ever. And under Princess Alara's guidance, the once broken army was ready to take the next step, to turn hope into action, and to show the galaxy what humanity could achieve. And in that quiet, determined moment, Alara understood a simple truth. Humans were never truly broken. They were only waiting for a leader who believed in them, and she had. The asteroid belt had become a bustling center of activity, its once quiet paths now alive with purpose. Princess Alara moved among the ships, listening to the chatter of engineers, medics, and pilots who now worked together as a single unit. Each person contributed something vital, an idea, a tool, or a small insight that turned ordinary objects into instruments of survival. The fleet no longer appeared as a broken collection of ships. It was a living network, thinking and adapting with every passing hour. Alara reviewed the latest intelligence reports, her mind racing with possibilities. Alien patrols had increased, probing deeper into human-controlled space. The fleet's scouts had detected the faint hum of alien sensors attempting to map the asteroid belt. Alara knew they were being studied, analyzed, and underestimated. And that was precisely what humans needed. Her advantage lay in turning the aliens' expectations against them. Commander Tavis approached, carrying a tablet full of movement patterns collected from recent patrols. "They're trying to predict us," he said. "Every move we make they are watching and adjusting, but they still think we are reactive, not proactive." Alara smiled. "Exactly, and that is where we will surprise them. Humans are not predictable. We do not move like machines. We think, we adapt, and we create opportunities where none exist. They are learning, but they are still trapped by assumptions. We will use that to our advantage." The fleet began preparing a series of diversions. Smaller ships would navigate hidden asteroid paths, creating false signals that suggested activity in sectors where humans had no intention of being. Mining drones were modified to emit temporary energy bursts, simulating ship movements. Satellites would rotate in a pattern that implied multiple fleet formations, confusing alien sensors. Alara gathered her senior officers to explain the plan. "We are not just hiding," she said. "We are teaching the aliens to expect patterns. Then when they follow those patterns, we will be elsewhere, moving, learning, and adapting faster than they can react." The officers nodded, their confidence growing. Even Tavis, who had once doubted the princess's plans, felt a deep respect for her insight. "It is risky," he said cautiously, "but I trust you. If anyone can turn this into an advantage, it is you." As the preparations continued, the human soldiers trained rigorously. Pilots practiced maneuvers through narrow asteroid tunnels, learning to rely on intuition as much as instruments. Engineers improvised new communication systems that could relay information instantaneously, creating a network of ideas as strong as any defense system. Medics and logisticians worked tirelessly to ensure every crew member remained alert and capable. Alara herself took part in exercises, testing strategies and observing the results. She challenged her teams to anticipate alien movements, to think several steps ahead, and to solve problems quickly. Each simulation revealed new opportunities, small innovations that would make the fleet more unpredictable and effective. One day, a scout returned from the outer edge of the belt with urgent news. Alien patrols are converging, the scout reported. They are moving faster than before, likely trying to trap us or locate hidden ships. They expect us to remain cautious, but they are underestimating our adaptability. Alara nodded. Good. That means our preparations are working. They are assuming we are only defending, that we are afraid, and they are wrong. We are learning from them, and soon we will show them that humans cannot be cornered or anticipated. The fleet's engineers and scientists worked feverishly, devising clever ways to manipulate the aliens' sensors. Reflective surfaces were positioned on asteroids to create false readings. Energy pulses from mining equipment mimicked ship engines. Even small holographic projections were deployed to create phantom movements, making the fleet appear larger and more scattered than it truly was. Lyra, the young mechanic who had grown into a leader among the engineers, presented a new idea. If we coordinate the drones and satellites with energy pulses, we can create the illusion of a fleet in constant motion, she explained. They will waste time following phantom movements while we move freely elsewhere. Alara's eyes sparkled with approval. Exactly. We are teaching them to chase shadows while we define the reality. That is the human advantage, imagination. Machines and aliens cannot create in ways humans can. We are always one step ahead. The soldiers responded with enthusiasm. Even the most cautious pilots practiced maneuvers designed to exploit the aliens' assumptions. Small teams moved in patterns that seemed random but were carefully planned, ensuring that every action could serve multiple purposes: detection, deception, or preparation for the next move. Weeks of preparation passed quickly. The fleet became a network of coordinated activity, its members moving like a single organism. Each soldier, engineer, and pilot understood their role, not simply as a task, but as a contribution to a larger strategy. The humans had become more than a fleet. They were a system of creativity, intuition, and adaptability. Alara often spent hours observing from the command deck, reflecting on the transformation. The once broken army now thrived, its people confident and capable. She knew the aliens would soon recognize that something had changed, that humans were no longer merely reacting, but anticipating, learning, and evolving faster than their adversaries could predict. One evening, as the fleet glided through a narrow canyon of asteroids, a sudden alert came from the scouts. Sensors show a large alien vessel approaching, the lead scout reported. It is moving cautiously, likely expecting traps. They are aware of our presence. Alara's expression remained calm. Good, she said softly. They are learning, and that means we are ready. Prepare the diversions, coordinate the drones, and ensure the satellites are emitting the false signals. Every action they take must feed the illusion we have created. We will guide them, teach them, and then show them our true capability. Tavis approached, concern in his eyes. Do you really think this will work? They are more advanced than us. Their sensors, their ships. Alara placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. They are advanced, yes, but they lack one thing humans have in abundance: creativity. They cannot imagine what we can, anticipate what we will invent, or trust the unpredictability of human thought. That is why this will work. Our strength is not in weapons or numbers, but in ingenuity, and humans, when united, are unstoppable in their imagination. The fleet moved into position as the alien vessel drew closer. Alara monitored every signal, every reading, and every fluctuation in energy output. The Phantom Fleet appeared in multiple locations, drawing the alien sensors in false directions. Drones slipped silently between asteroids, broadcasting misleading signals. Satellites rotated to create the illusion of movement, making the aliens believe the humans were scattered and disorganized. And then the humans acted. Small, agile ships slipped past the edges of detection, navigating hidden paths that the aliens could not anticipate. Engineers adjusted energy outputs to mimic large ship engines, while Lyra's drones created subtle pulses that diverted attention. The alien vessel followed the signals, misled at every turn, unable to predict the humans' true location. Inside the fleet, humans worked with quiet efficiency. Pilots communicated through hand signals and short-range transmissions. Engineers monitored energy fluctuations, adjusting devices to maintain the illusion. Medics ensured everyone remained alert, while logisticians tracked resources, making sure every movement was precise. The fleet functioned like a single mind, each part anticipating the next, each person contributing to the whole. Alara observed it all, her mind racing with possibilities. The alien vessel, guided by false signals, moved deeper into the asteroid canyon. It was slower, cautious, and increasingly confused. Humans watched silently, ready to adapt further if necessary. Every human on the fleet understood that success relied not on confrontation but on creativity, intelligence, and coordination. Hours passed, and the alien vessel continued to follow the Phantom Fleet. Then, at the precise moment, the humans enacted the final stage of the plan. Drones and small ships slipped from one side of the canyon to the other, revealing a carefully hidden path through the asteroid belt. The alien vessel, having been misled by false signals, moved too slowly to adjust. The humans passed undetected, their fleet fully intact, their strategy executed flawlessly. In the command deck, a quiet cheer rose among the officers. Tavis allowed himself a small smile, his respect for Alara deepening with every passing moment. "I've never seen anything like this," he said. "They think they are tracking us, but we are already beyond them, clever, ingenious." Alara's expression remained calm but satisfied. "This is what humans do," she said softly. "We learn, we adapt, and we thrive. Even when the odds are against us, even when the world believes we are broken, we find a way. And that is why humans will always endure." As the fleet regrouped after the maneuver, Alara addressed her soldiers. "Today, we have shown the first step of our true strength. Not through destruction, not through weapons, but through intelligence, cooperation, and creativity. We are no longer reactive. We are proactive. And this is only the beginning." The soldiers listened intently, their spirits lifted. They had witnessed the power of human ingenuity firsthand, and they understood now that their strength lay not in force, but in thought, imagination, and unity. Alara walked among them later that evening, quietly speaking to small groups, praising clever solutions, and offering encouragement. Each person she spoke to felt a renewed sense of purpose. They were no longer a fleet running from danger. They were humans who could shape the outcome of any challenge with their minds, their hearts, and their collaboration. In the days that followed, the alien presence became more cautious. Patrols slowed, sensors hesitated, and the humans learned even more about their adversaries' patterns. Every encounter, every signal, every movement became an opportunity for learning and innovation. The humans were no longer broken. They were a force defined by intelligence, adaptability, and imagination. Alara knew that the next phase would be even more challenging. The alien forces would eventually realize the deception, and humans would need to anticipate and counter new strategies. But she also knew that the fleet was ready. Each human had grown stronger, more confident, and more inventive. They were no longer just survivors. They were pioneers, capable of turning every obstacle into an opportunity. As the stars stretched endlessly beyond the asteroid belt, Alara reflected on what had been accomplished. The humans had turned fear into strategy, doubt into courage, and chaos into coordinated action. The once broken army was now a living network of ideas, anticipation, and collaboration. And in that quiet determination, Princess Alara understood the truth that had guided her from the beginning. Humans were never truly broken. They only needed a challenge to ignite their imagination, a leader to inspire their courage, and an opportunity to prove their resilience. The alien vessel lingered at the edge of detection, unaware that it had already been outmaneuvered. The humans had turned the situation to their advantage without a single destructive act, using only intelligence, foresight, and the unpredictable brilliance of their minds. Alara looked at her fleet and felt a deep pride. The next stage would be the greatest test yet, but she was confident. Humans had learned, adapted, and thrived. They were ready for whatever came next, and in that moment the asteroid belt no longer felt like a place of hiding. It felt like the first step toward a future where humans would not only survive but shine. The asteroid belt had become more than a refuge. It had become a stage for human ingenuity. Princess Alara moved among the fleet, her presence calm and steady, yet filled with quiet authority. Ships glided silently past massive rocks, while engineers, medics, and pilots worked together in perfect coordination. The humans had learned to anticipate not only the alien movements, but also each other's thoughts and actions. Every step was a part of a larger pattern, every decision a thread in the intricate web of survival and strategy. Alara reviewed the latest intelligence. Alien patrols were frequent and deliberate, moving cautiously through the belt. Their sensors attempted to detect the humans, but the decoys and diversions had worked brilliantly. The aliens had begun to doubt their understanding, misinterpreting signals and wasting time following false trails. This gave the humans their advantage, a chance to act decisively without fear of immediate confrontation. Commander Tavis approached, his eyes bright with confidence. "They are confused," he said. "They can't predict us. Every move we make is another puzzle for them. You've truly transformed this fleet, Princess." Alara nodded, but her focus remained on the task ahead. "Confusion is temporary," she replied. "Eventually, they will adjust. Our next steps must be precise, clever, and coordinated. Today, we show them what humans are truly capable of, not through force, but through intelligence, creativity, and unity." The fleet began its final preparation. Engineers synchronized drones and satellites to create complex patterns of false signals. Small ships moved through hidden asteroid tunnels, learning paths that no alien sensors could detect. Communication networks were optimized so that every vessel could share information instantly, creating a human network that functioned as a single, intelligent mind. Lyra, now a respected leader among the engineers, demonstrated a new system. "We can guide their sensors toward phantom ships while we navigate freely through the asteroid belt," she explained. "Even if they detect movement, it will lead them in the wrong direction, giving us complete freedom to act." Alara smiled, seeing the brilliance of the plan. "This is exactly what humans do," she said. "We turn obstacles into opportunities. We think in ways that others cannot imagine, and we work together to make ideas real." The human soldiers trained rigorously for the final phase. Pilots practiced stealth maneuvers through tight asteroid tunnels, relying on instinct as much as instruments. Engineers monitored energy outputs and drone signals, adjusting in real time to ensure the illusions remained convincing. Medics and logisticians maintained alertness and readiness, keeping the fleet functioning at peak efficiency. As preparations concluded, scouts reported increased alien activity near the edges of the belt. The aliens seemed to recognize that the humans were no longer hiding. They were moving intelligently, creating patterns that machines could not predict. Alara gathered her officers to review the plan. "We will not confront them directly," she said. "Instead, we will guide them, teach them, and outmaneuver them. Our strength is intelligence, coordination, and imagination. Every human aboard this fleet is a part of that strength. Trust each other and trust your minds." Tavis nodded. "It will work," he said. "I see the confidence, the creativity, and the cooperation. They cannot anticipate the full extent of our ingenuity." The final maneuver began as the fleet moved into position. Drones and small ships created multiple illusions, while satellites projected signals that suggested a large and scattered fleet. Alien sensors detected movement, but every reading was false, every trail misleading. The aliens moved cautiously, trying to anticipate the humans, unaware that they were walking into an intricate web of deception. Alara coordinated the fleet with precision. Small ships slipped past the aliens' detection, navigating paths through the asteroid tunnels that machines could never predict. Engineers adjusted energy outputs in real time, while medics monitored crew alertness, ensuring the operation ran smoothly. Every human knew their role, and every action contributed to the success of the plan. Hours passed, and the alien fleet became increasingly frustrated. Their sensors failed to provide accurate data, and their patrols moved hesitantly, unsure where the humans might be. The humans, guided by Alara's leadership, adapted constantly, ensuring that every movement remained unpredictable. Lyra and her team monitored the drones, adjusting signals to create the illusion of phantom ships. "They're following the decoys," she whispered. "Our real fleet is moving freely through the hidden tunnels." Alara nodded. "Good. Keep them distracted. Every step they take in confusion strengthens our position." As the humans advanced, they coordinated to position themselves strategically. The alien fleet, misled by phantom signals, moved away from the true paths of the human ships. Humans took advantage of the confusion, mapping routes and gaining intelligence that would guide them in future operations. They moved silently, efficiently, and with purpose, proving that strength was not measured in firepower, but in intelligence, foresight, and collaboration. The success of the operation was visible in every corner of the fleet. Pilots maneuvered confidently, engineers adjusted devices with precision, and medics ensured that every crew member remained alert and capable. Even Tavis, who had once doubted the potential of humans in such circumstances, now watched with awe. "They cannot predict us," he said quietly. "We are unstoppable when we work together." Alara addressed the fleet over the communication network. "Today, we have proven that humans are capable of extraordinary things. We have turned fear into strategy, doubt into courage, and uncertainty into opportunity. We have shown that creativity, cooperation, and intelligence are more powerful than any weapon. This is the human advantage, and it will guide us toward victory." The soldiers responded with quiet applause, a sound that carried through the corridors of the ships. They had experienced the brilliance of human ingenuity firsthand, and they understood that success lay not in destruction but in intelligence, creativity, and unity. As the alien vessels began to withdraw, recognizing that they had been outmaneuvered, the humans advanced further into the asteroid belt. They had not destroyed the aliens, nor had they engaged in conflict. Instead, they had demonstrated a force of mind, collaboration, and ingenuity that the aliens could not counter. Every maneuver, every innovation, and every idea had contributed to a clear and decisive outcome. Humans had outsmarted a technologically superior foe. Alara walked among the crew, congratulating engineers, pilots, and medics alike. Each person she spoke to understood the impact of their contribution. They were no longer survivors reacting to a threat. They were pioneers shaping the outcome of their future. The fleet had become a symbol of human resilience, intelligence, and unity. Tavis approached once more. "I never imagined humans could achieve this without a single act of violence," he said. "We have won through intelligence, creativity, and cooperation. It is remarkable." Alara smiled. "That is the way of humans. We endure, we adapt, and we succeed. Weapons can destroy, but imagination, ingenuity, and trust can achieve what machines cannot. That is our greatest strength." News of the fleet's success spread quickly. Drones carrying encrypted messages reached nearby colonies, bringing hope and inspiration. Humans from distant worlds joined the fleet, contributing their knowledge, skills, and ideas. The once broken army had grown into a formidable network, united not by force, but by collaboration, creativity, and shared vision. Alara reflected on the journey from the first defeat to this moment of triumph. The fleet had survived countless challenges, adapted to impossible circumstances, and turned weaknesses into strengths. The humans had learned to anticipate, to innovate, and to act with purpose and unity. Every individual, from the youngest recruit to the most experienced commander, had played a role in the victory. Even as the aliens withdrew, their presence lingered as a reminder of future challenges. Yet the humans were ready. They had transformed fear into strategy, isolation into collaboration, and uncertainty into opportunity. The fleet had become more than a collection of ships. It was a living network of ideas, intuition, and intelligence. Alara addressed the fleet once more, her voice calm and confident. "We have achieved something extraordinary today. We have proven that humans are not defined by weakness or by defeat. We are defined by our ability to learn, adapt, and collaborate. The galaxy may underestimate us, but we will continue to show what humans are capable of." The fleet responded with cheers, their spirits high. They had learned to trust themselves, each other, and their leader. They had experienced the power of human ingenuity firsthand, and they understood that true strength came from intelligence, creativity, and unity. As the stars stretched endlessly beyond the asteroid belt, Alara looked out at the horizon. The future was uncertain, and challenges would arise, but she felt a quiet confidence. Humans had survived, adapted, and thrived. They had transformed a broken fleet into a network of intelligent, capable minds. They had proven that resilience, ingenuity, and cooperation could overcome any obstacle. The once broken army was no longer broken. It had become a force of intelligence and imagination, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Under Princess Alara's guidance, humans had achieved victory not through weapons or violence, but through cleverness, foresight, and unity. And in that moment, the stars themselves seemed to reflect the brilliance of human spirit. The fleet glided silently through the asteroid belt, its members confident, capable, and united. They had shown the universe that humans could triumph not through destruction, but through creativity, courage, and collaboration. Alara stood on the observation deck, watching the distant stars shimmer. She thought of the young recruits who had grown into leaders, of engineers who had turned ordinary tools into instruments of success, and of every soldier who had trusted in the vision of a human-led fleet. "Humans are never truly broken," she whispered to herself. "We only need a chance to shine, and today we have shone brighter than ever before." The fleet moved onward, a testament to human ingenuity and resilience. The alien vessels retreated, not destroyed, but outsmarted. Humanity had claimed a victory that would be remembered, not for destruction, but for intelligence, unity, and the indomitable spirit of a people who refused to be defeated. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, full of unknown challenges, but the humans were ready. They had survived, adapted, and thrived. They had proven that imagination, intelligence, and cooperation were mightier than any weapon. And as Princess Alara watched over her fleet, she knew that this was only the beginning. Humanity had taken its first step toward a future where they would shine among the stars, not through force, but through the brilliance of the human mind. The human princess led a broken army to victory.